Katara is the soul of Team Avatar. When the entire team is stuck in the desert in episode 211, with Aang having left them all to die, to go off searching for Appa, Katara is the one who keeps them alive. It's not a stretch to claim that they would all have died there had it not been for her help. It's Katara who heals Aang with the water from the Spirit Oasis at the end of Season 2, bringing him back to life and keeping the Avatar cycle going. Just as importantly, it's Katara who makes sure that she has the opportunity to revive Aang. She's the one who takes his lightning-struck corpse and leaves the catacombs beneath Ba Sing Se, even though both Zuko and Azula are pursuing her. It's Katara who is always there to calm Aang down when he's in the Avatar state, and even Toph and Sokka admit that they rely on Katara, even if they wouldn't say that to her face. For Sokka, she was the strength that kept their family together even after their mother died and their father went off to war, and for Toph, she's the supportive mother figure she never had. The others rely on her. When they need a supportive ear, she's there for them. But who's there for her? The Zuko and Katara pairing is fascinating not because he's another bad boy that she's attracted to, like Jet, but because he is someone she does not have to hide herself from. When Sokka and Toph praise Katara, it's for being strong. It's for being there, always there. But Zuko does not need that from her. He's his own person, mature and confident, and self-assured. Not arrogant or prideful, and definitely humble, particularly as the show progresses. By the time he joins Team Avatar, he's full of the kind of earned confidence that comes from striding through the Valley of Shadows and emerging into the shafts of light shining through on the other side. These relationships with so-called bad boys tend to fail because the good girl wants to reshape the bad boy and reform him, which tends not to succeed, not only because people don't change that easily, not normally, but also because the bad boy could quite reasonably respond that these more dangerous qualities are what drew her to him in the first place. In contrast, the relationship between Zuko and Katara does not evolve beyond antagonism until he reveals to her and proves to her that he is not the one-dimensional bad person that she believed he was. He's just confused and frustrated. For years he believed he could only reclaim the idyllic life he lost if he fulfills his father's demands and captures the Avatar. But he increasingly sees how fallacious that is. He increasingly sees how his father, as well as the entire social environment he grew up in, have shaped his mind and warped his psyche. Is receiving the honor of the Fire Nation a worthwhile endeavor when the Fire Nation is responsible for so much pain and suffering? Zuko increasingly grows to think that it isn't. Katara listens to his contemplations. The person she believed was just a cartoon baddie is really a broken soul in turmoil. Even though he does end up betraying her, it is interesting to listen to her recounting of this event in episode 312, the Western Air Temple. When she discusses the confusion Zuko displayed to her, she doesn't say that he was lying or that his vulnerability was just a facade. What she says is that she can't trust him. She's basically admitting that yes, he was sincere, but I don't know if that matters because he made the choice to turn his back on growth and betray me. The unreliable, conflicted Zuko understands her far more than does the eternally optimistic Pollyanna-ish Aang, who can't comprehend that her experiences and that her attitude on those experiences and her entire way of looking at the world is not the same as his. But she's afraid to be tender to Zuko. She's afraid to reveal the truth of herself to him, because his betrayal of her still stings. When Zuko discovers the truth about the man who killed Katara's mother, he has to find that out from Sokka. Katara herself will not discuss it, not really to anyone and certainly not to him. Only when Zuko proves that he can help Katara does she allow herself to become close to him, does she allow herself to really connect with him. Again, this is not a bad boy situation where the girl is attracted to the guy because he marks a break from societal conventions. True, Katara judges her behavior by her own self-contained moral codes, not by conventional societal standards of behavior, but she's been hurt so often, including by people like Jet, whom she believed to be idealists, that she doesn't trust anyone whom she doesn't believe will be supportive of her. This is especially true because of all the trauma she suffered in her youth, with her father and all the other men of the tribe leaving, and her mother dying, leaving her with no one but an older brother whom she needs to support. There's no one Katara needs to teach her to be free and self-possessed. She already is. What she needs at this point is someone to rely on, someone who can comfort her. Aang is just not that person. I don't mean this with any malice toward Aang, but he's not. No, this is not the worst pairing in the universe, but it is one that has never satisfied me. It doesn't sit right with what we know about Katara as a person. When I watched the show for the first time about 5 years ago, I was not a hardcore Zutara fan, and I was not specifically anti-Katang, but I was a little disconcerted by how the show expected me to believe that this relationship between Katara and Aang is the height of romance, while giving me no real compelling reason to believe it is. With each successive viewing of the show, I increasingly appreciated the intimacy that develops between Zuko and Katara, and I appreciated Katara as a person a lot more. I started seeing her as Zuko sees her, not as a saint or devil, not as an archetype, but as an actual flesh and blood conflicted human being, caught between the loving maternal role that she's supposed to play, that she has to play, and the raw, primal darkness prowling the rivers of her psyche. Aang does not think that deeply about Katara. As a child, he does not really consider who Katara is outside of how she relates to himself. Whether this is because he doesn't want to, or because he can't, I'll leave to you to decide. Aang is a spontaneous person. This does not necessarily mean he is superficial. He becomes distraught when he believes he has failed, but it does not really affect his behavior going forward. Aside from when he loses Appa, and number one, that only lasts for one episode, and number two is not really him changing in how he views the world, so much as it is his normal method for seeing things just shutting down with self-loathing. He gets angry frequently, but it's in bursts. It comes and goes. It doesn't stay and simmer. He doesn't understand what it feels like to have this bitter darkness at the center of the soul, impossible to dislodge. That does not necessarily mean his relationship with Katara is doomed to fail, but can you point out just one point in the show when Katara comes to him for catharsis, where she pours the true depth of her soul out to him and he's able to understand it? It never happens. When Katara suffers a crisis of the soul, she would go to anyone else before she would go to Aang. She knows how Aang and Sokka and Toph tend to view her, and she's okay with being that person because it gives them the support they need, and she wants to help them, and she knows that if she did reveal the full truth of herself to her, they would not respond kindly, a presumption that's backed up by their behavior toward her in the Southern Raiders. They don't even really attempt to understand her beyond a very superficial level. I'm not saying Aang and company are villains for not endorsing her revenge quest, but they should have taken a step back and considered why she wants it. What does it offer her? Instead, they demonstrate that they do not endorse this side of her. Later, Aang makes a faint, vague gesture of supporting her quest to find the person who killed her mother, but it's too little, too late. It just feels very perfunctory. And it's clear he still doesn't really understand the journey she needs to undertake. Why would he? It's not like he has that darkness inside him. He doesn't have these experiences. And I'm not just talking about loss. He's lost a lot of people. But he's always been removed from that kind of loss. It's more abstract to him. And there's 100 years between him and that loss. For Katara, it's very immediate. For Katara, it's unforgettable. For Katara, it sticks with her. Zuko does have the same experiences as Katara. He's endured that late-night sorrow where you don't know who you are or what you're supposed to do. And you want to be satisfied, you want it more than anything, but you don't know how to get there. The reason Zuko's betrayal of Katara in Season 2 hurt her so much is because she knows that he understands her. For this to be the person who betrays her is crushing, but still she knows he comprehends her psyche and how she relates to her suffering. When they talk after he earns her forgiveness, it's with the mature composure of two people who don't have any secrets to reveal to each other. Two people who can't surprise each other because they just understand each other that well. What Katara wants more than anything, I would say, is to be understood. I mean, above all that, she wants her culture back and she wants her mother back. She wants things to be like the ideal she has of them, but she grows to realize that that's not possible, and if it's not possible, she at least wants someone who can comprehend that psychic wound, who can understand how losing those connections has impacted her. We don't often see into Katara's head romantically, which is why her decision to choose Aang is so awkward narratively, but her intimate, unvarnished conversations with Zuko are to me a more pure and profound expression of love than any of the unfounded, kind of superficial romantic scenes that exist between her and Aang. So thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Donate to my Patreon if you can and you want to see more videos like this. Keep watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's finally getting the respect it deserves, and I'm so glad about that. It's a kind of brilliant, enigmatic show that's not afraid to peer into the hearts of its characters and ask what it is that they really want, beyond what they might say they want. It's a really challenging show, and I really appreciate that. So anyway, tune in soon for my next analysis. They'll be coming shortly. Thank you all again. Adios, comrades.